Hey everybody, welcome to the show. It's me and Bilal today.
Hello, hello, hello.
And yeah, y'all voted on Friday for Monday's show to be about making a murderer with the Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey case that has happened. And then on Friday, we're going to do Bitboy. Did I
Might
get.
be, might be BitBoy, might be about some H3H3. I'm debating on whether to look at him
It's
because
your choice.
yeah, because either or, they're both pissing me off a little bit.
I did notice that he was live a lot this weekend. H3,
We'll
H3.
we'll get to it at the
Yeah.
end. Why I might want to do something, but it has to do with defamation, and it annoys me.
Oh,
But
okay. So y'all tune in for that show on Friday. Now I'm interested. Now you piqued my interest on that.
yeah, I don't like his defamation comments against people. Even if I don't like those people, I don't like what he's doing.
Yeah, there's
So
limits. There's limits that you can, and we can all agree. H3 think that they can do whatever they want on YouTube because they think they own YouTube.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So
Hey
what?
everybody, by the way, hold on.
I
Yeah, let's see. Hey Grandma Sherry. Hey Pecan. Hey Lighting. Hey Sleuth Mom. Hey Louisiana Girl.
Is this going to be a spirit box session?
Oh
I don't know
God.
about that.
Jesus. We're not doing that.
No way. You saw Pecan. You saw my last fight with the last psychic. I think we're not going to have any spiritualism or any psychics on the channel for any sort of crime stuff. That's for sure.
Hey Little Mix, yeah, I heard about that. I heard you had a really great time with that
Uh,
spiritual, what was she, spiritualist or something?
No, she went on. She literally went on with a book. Like she's on Queen Bee,
Eh.
and she had like a name like No BS. So I'm like listening, and she has her camera on, and she's like, "I've been writing these notes," and she has like like the whole book, like it was filled with writing, and I'm just listening. I'm trying, because I'm not like closed-minded person. I'm listening,
Yeah.
and she's like, "Oh, I'm feeling names. I'm getting." And she's like kind of insinuating that she's seeing like the mental state of Kylie when she's like dead and she's communicating with her from beyond the grave. And I was like, I like, lady, are you? And she's like, and I'm like, what are you doing? I think she said she was like one of those people that feel other people's emotions. And I'm like, that's completely different than
Then,
talking to the people to dead of the dead.
yeah.
And she was just being rude. And I had it and Cappy had it. No one liked her shit. So that's what I'm saying.
Hey
She
Little
has
Mix.
she actually has a channel. Well, good for her. If she wants to push her shit on her channel, that's fine, but not around me. That's for sure. You can
She,
have your psychic channel, but don't push it under when I'm sitting there.
it's very tacky.
Yeah, high limits.
B Tim, she actually, oh, she
She was
was getting
getting.
her wonky.
Yeah, she was like
Yeah.
insinuating the mother did it, and she was insinuating like not the mother.
Sh-
I'm sorry. Wait, no, I'm sorry. Let me take it back. She
mm,
was insinuating the mother should have done more about the whole thing, and she was insinuating Sammy did something. So I don't like that shit. But anyway, let's continue. Let's go with the
yeah.
actual.
Before we get, yeah, because we could go all night with that shit. Ooh, I don't like that. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So
go ahead.
what sparked your interest in this case? We should start
Well,
off with.
I will be honest with you. When this documentary came out, God knows how long ago, it was a couple years ago. It's actually on in the background. Y'all can't hear it. This documentary came out in 2018, and me, like any normal person, likes
You're
to
normal.
watch. I'm normal. I am the pinnacle. I am normal. I am the poster child of sanity. Um, but
One
yeah.
for the one for the chat if you think Tony's normal. Two if you don't. Let's
I'm
go.
normal. I'm normal. But like any normal person, it was a comfy night. I had, a bag of popcorn and a cold drink, and I went, tonight's the night that we're gonna, watch a murder mystery. We're going to watch like Discovery ID or something. I went on Netflix and I saw Making a Murderer, and the ratings were so high on it. I googled it and I went, okay, let's give this a shot. And then I got sucked in.
10 hours worth, probably.
Huh?
Someone said 1, someone says 2.
Someone
Uh,
says 3. There wasn't even an option 3.
yeah.
Jasmina knows me perfectly.
So
uh,
I mean, like I watched it. It was interesting. Honestly, I didn't really remember it until you brought it up. I had to like kind of read and look through notes and figure out
mm,
what the whole case was about. And it's actually pretty interesting because when I was watching it,
mm,
um, it's a very murky story. It's basically a
mm,
situation where we know that the first uh, accusation that he went to jail for 18 years. And if you don't know, let me you know, clue you into what happened.
mm,
Basically, in July 29th, 1985, a person named Penny Birdstein was raped on a bench near two rivers. She provided a description of the assailant, and the police believed it resembled Avery. After Bernstein picked him out of a photo array, Avery, Stephen Avery,
mm.
was arrested. Although 16 people testified that he was elsewhere at the time, and I believe he was like 40 miles away as well
Yeah, he
at
was.
the time.
Yeah.
That was left out of this. Avery was arrested elsewhere at the time of the attack. State forensic officials claimed that the hair found on one of Avery's shirts was consistent with one of the victims. In December of 1985, Avery was convicted of the crime and sentenced to 32 years. However, some had doubts about the guilt, believing that Gregory A. Allen. Now, I want you to pull up. I think I have a link to the picture of Gregory A. Allen on there. I'll have to. You'll have. I might have pulled it up earlier, but you could just let's say you pull up. Just type up Avery, Stephen Avery, and Gregory Allen, and just show them the photo array, like the
Okay.
two photos.
Okay, one moment.
Yeah. So just show them, and this is probably why that she probably picked the wrong guy because they look quite similar.
Mm-hmm.
When you do it, just tell me.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's a situation where a guy was falsely convicted of the rape, what we just read,
Mm-hmm.
and then basically gets out and he gets a lawsuit, and then suddenly he's arrested again for another murder. And it's a big controversy about a lot of details we will get into, but I just wanted to get a little bit into the first situation in which he was arrested.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to show you why they might have the lady who was raped would have mixed up Avery and Allen.
Mm-hmm.
So the guy with the beard, like the beard and mustache, is
Mm-hmm.
Avery. The
Yeah.
guy without the beard is Gregory.
Mm-hmm.
So you can imagine if you had a lineup of a guy brought in, you might pick Avery, and that's particularly what happened. But
Well,
because
there
now, wait, yes.
adds some context to this. Avery is also known as a troublemaker. If anything
Yeah,
was ever, oh, is that what you're getting to? Go for it. Go for it.
yeah, I was going to get to that because he has a very sketchy past in his
Yeah.
early days. I wanted to skip the early days to that to just show you the two people. But his early life was basically Avery grew up in Manitowoc County,
Mm-hmm.
Wisconsin, and let's drop that. He has an IQ of 70. So in 1981, he was convicted of burglarizing a bar and later served 10 months in jail. In the following year, he pled guilty to animal cruelty after he poured gasoline on a cat and tossed it into a bonfire. He was sentenced to 9 months. In 1985, so those that he also had a situation in 1985. He ran afoul of law when he forced a car driven by Sandra Morris, a cousin who was the wife of the sheriff's deputy, off the road and pointed a gun at her. Avery claimed that he wanted her to stop spreading rumors about him. In 1984, she had filed a complaint alleging that he had exposed himself on several occasions and
Mm-hmm.
received 6-year sentence in the car incident, but was granted bail. That's the thing. You might know more. I think there was more he had spread around about him.
There was more. I do know that his I want to say his cousin was the one who was reporting Avery naked on top of his car, jerking himself off and doing weird lewd things. But there was a lot of conflict within the family between the two. Anyways, Avery never did that though.
Yeah.
The Avery property that he lived on this huge property that his house was on. I think his sister-in-law lived in with his with his nephews, which we'll get into because they play a part into this, and his parents. It's an Avery scrapyard. It's a junkyard, and they do what any junkyard does. And they're a towing company as well. They do towing, repairs, so forth. It's all in one. So his house wasn't in the road. Do you get what I'm saying? How she made it sound like Avery was on the main road. He's not. And if Avery was doing all these weird things, why hasn't anybody else on the property, saw this? There was a lot of inconsistencies. But also, I think it's the cousin that made this report. Her husband was a police officer. And
yes, the sheriff. We read
the
that.
sheriff. Yeah, the sheriff. So,
Sheriff deputy.
so there was a lot of like button heads and stuff. But I will say this: the local police there, literally tried everything that they could to take focus off of this guy Gregory. Is that his name, Gregory?
Yeah, Gregory Allen is the other guy.
Yeah, and they were really trying hard to put it against Avery, because when the woman was in the hospital healing, she was almost beaten to death. She was describing the man. She was describing it, blonde hair, kind of sketchy looking, and automatically the first police officer goes, "That's Stephen Avery." So now that police officer saying it out loud to this victim in a bed healing goes, "Stephen Avery." And in the lineup, she saw Stephen Avery, and she said, "Stephen Avery." Like it was implanted in her head of who it could have been. And
That's going to be a common theme later on.
This is going to be a definite theme. But you also got to understand too, this victim went through horrible shit that Gregory put her through. It is found that it was Gregory's DNA on the woman, not Avery's.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that point though.
Yeah. So to continue, basically. 32 years. So, however, some had doubts of guilt, believing that Gregory Allen, an area man who strongly resembled Avery, was suspected in the sex crimes and might be assailant. However, law officials never investigated Allen. So basically, it went so far as in 1995, a detective made a call to the jail and said that an inmate admitted on making an assault years ago on Montauk County. Sheriffs didn't believe him. So so detective actually called up in 1995, and then finally in 2003, the Innocent Project used DNA evidence to prove that Avery was innocent, and a man named Gregory Allen had done it. And Allen and Avery look alike. So basically, he served 18 years in jail for a crime he did not commit, and he finally gets out. And basically, when he gets out, he starts a lawsuit, obviously, because there was a lot of issues with how this guy got convicted, how they kind of railroaded him into 18 years in jail. So all the charges were dropped, and he was released from prison, and he filed a $36 million lawsuit for wrongful conviction lawsuit against the county.
Was it 36? I thought the documentary said it was 45.
It was 36 million.
Okay.
It was 36 million, and the district county and the sheriff, during the legal proceeding, it was discovered that in 1995, that's what I read already about talk. But basically what happened was, the issue that really became apparent was that the insurance company wasn't covering the case, and that it would go in the pockets of the sheriff and the county. So these sheriffs could be personally liable for the $36 million.
Aye.
This is kind of gets into a situation where you kind of say, oh shit, So fast forward, and there's a lot of inconsistencies with the documentaries. You'll see that there's certain things that were left out of the documentary. I'm just read the chat. Wow, that's sad that the cops basically let her and think it was the wrong person. They do look so similar. Yeah, they do look very similar, and that's probably because he was kind of a troublemaker in the town, and also the fact is that he, the cops didn't like him. Let's just say that much. And
the Avery name was pretty much damaged before any of this happened because they were known as Roughnecks.
Yeah. So
they do look the same. But this is the thing too, if you are a police officer who's going to a victim, there's things that you can say and you can't say. Now, implanting someone's name into a victim's head, especially one that's healing after being brutally assaulted, and also beat to the brink of death is another thing. It got so bad that when the woman, the victim, was giving her statement for them to make a deposit of of what she remembers what he looks like, that the guy himself already thought Avery did it and drew fucking Avery.
Yeah, it becomes a situation.
Yeah.
So Tony, next thing I want to do is show another part that kind of
Mm-hmm.
shows what Netflix kind of left out. This is the name of the person. Can you pull up that person's picture?
Which person? I'm sorry.
Making a murder. I just sent you a text.
Oh,
It was
okay. Yeah.
Jody. So in the documentary, it shows that she's kind of this person called Jody supporting her. This Avery, basically. So in the jail, basically, when you put up the picture, just tell me.
Yeah, it's just taking. Oh, his girlfriend, his ex-girlfriend. Yeah.
Yeah, he pursued a relationship with Jody Dachowski, Stachowski. She and him lived together, but in the middle of the series, they separated. But they depicted her as a supporter, and Avery threatened to kill her and her family. Court records support this in order to pay a fine and in order to keep his distance. Her support of Avery was said to be in an act after Netflix documentary was released and was interviewed. She once ingested, and this is how bad it got, she once ingested rat poison to get away from Avery to go to the hospital. She doesn't believe Avery's innocent. That's her line. But basically, the documentary shows that they're kind of like together and she supports him. That's not quite true. Let's just say that much.
Mm-hmm. And real quick, Seal. Hey, Seal. Didn't two witnesses come forward? Actually, I do have some update videos on that, and we're going to get to that. But yeah, expect a season 3 of Making a Murderer. There has to be a season 3. But yes, exactly. So I didn't know that about Jody. I did not know that. See, because I kind of thought she just fucked off in the middle of everything because she was so tired of, mind you, when she was with Avery on Avery's side right after Avery got convicted, not convicted, but he was waiting trial for the murder of Teresa. After the fact, mind you. I feel like we're going everywhere. Okay, let's rewind it a second. Let's rewind it a bit. Okay. So we're talking about in the 80s. I think it was 85. There was the rape.
We don't need to.
But
so basically, I might have jumped a little bit. So he goes to jail for 18 years. He eventually gets out. There's a settlement. There's a trial for a civil suit that we just went through. Now, what happens is that eventually 2 years down the line, he gets suspected of another crime, another murder.
Teresa
Hellback. Yeah. And it was a lot of situations that made it very, very weird. There's evidence to support that he might have done it, and there's evidence to support that he might have not done it. But the main things that really a lot of people used to support was basically Teresa Hellback was a woman that took photos. Let me just pull her up. So I'll read the case. On October 31st, 2005, so this is 2 years after he gets out of jail. He's doing the civil suit. He's kind of sitting around. So this is basically he's accused of another one.
Real quick, the civil suit, when he was suing the police department for wrongful conviction, he wasn't doing it out of malice or anger or revenge. He stated many times the only reason why he's doing this is because he lost 18 years of his life on a wrongful conviction, and he never wished anybody to go through that again.
Also, I forgot to mention that what happened was with the Innocent Project, they revealed the DNA, and that exonerated them.
Yes.
So, if I didn't mention that before, I'm mentioning it now. So basically, the murder of Teresa Hellback. So in 2005, while a civil case was still ongoing, Teresa Hellback, a freelance photographer, drove to Avery to Auto Salvage, where Avery and other family members lived. If you want to show a map, the picture of
let me get it real quick.
Just so them to show them the auto, because we want to give them an idea of what this place looks like to people, and I'll continue reading.
Okay, let me find the map.
Yeah, it's an interesting case, actually. It goes to a lot of false confessions, improper evidence, at the very least. It really begs the question, you might feel that he's guilty, but would you convict him after everything I say in this discussion? And that's the real question. So when you get pull up the photo, I'll
Yeah,
continue
it's
reading.
taking a minute because
Yeah,
apparently
yeah.
there's a lot of
There's a lot of photos. This is the
they
this.
own a big part of property.
Yeah. This is the website. I think this is the website was called. It's called Stevie Avery transcript. So it's StevieAveryCase.org, and it shows the photos of the actual evidence that they collected. No dead bodies or anything like that. Just like area photos, the RAD4 and stuff like that, so people can see what it looks like.
Okay, so we're jumping off of Jody, or should I?
Yeah. You could jump
Okay.
off. We talked about Jody, and now we could just show them the actual Avery farm to
Okay.
everyone, so everyone
Okay.
can see it. Welcome back, Sherry. So while he's doing that, basically he's going to do that while I read it. So Teresa Hellback is a freelance photographer that drove to Avery's Auto Salvage, where Avery and other family members lived, in order to photograph a van that he wanted to list in an Auto Trader magazine. Avery claimed that he talked to her, but that she left after taking the photographs. She was never seen alive again. Now, there is a point that I want to make. I don't think it was actually highlighted in this, and I might have to read it again. But basically, she went there before to Avery's property, and he met her with a towel only covering his private parts and no shirt. She was highly freaked out about this situation. She did not want to go back, and it turns out that he used *69 to basically hide his number and pretend to be someone else to get her back to take pictures because he wanted her. I just wanted to highlight that. That is very suspect. That goes to the possibility of him being guilty. Let's put that in the category of possible guilty category.
All right,
So,
real quick. So this is basically an aerial map of Avery's Auto Salvage, where they do the towing, where they bring the cars in. I know it's very blurry. I'm not opening an actual map app because that's going to be a whole new thing. But this is an aerial picture of it. But this other picture right here shows that they owned 259.7 acres of land. So if you compare this with this photo, you can see that they own the property all the way down here and all around. And you can actually see the houses where they all lived. Everybody had like a trailer. They had their own house. The family, they paid to live there and to support over almost 260 acres of land.
mhm. Now, do you have a picture of the actual, like a close up of the Avery sign, stuff like that you could show them?
Yeah, give me a second.
So while he's doing that, I'll continue reading. Uh, so on November 3rd, a missing persons report was filed and search was undertaken and located Hellback, Teresa. 2 days later, her vehicle was found at the family salvage yard. Over the following week, Hellback car key was discovered in Avery's house, and the blood later determined to be his. So his blood was found apparently on the car keys. I say apparently because I will state that later, and on the car. I will also note that apparently sweat was found in the. Trying to see, he actually had DNA from sweat, so I'll have to get that. Let me just see. My notes are not really great. Sorry. But there was sweat found in part of the car. I just have to look where. Jeez Louise, I gotta get my notes. So sweat was found on it as well, but that wasn't really brought into the trial. It was only the fact of DNA was actually brought in. So blood determined to be found in the car, and in addition, it was found that the car. In addition to human bones were recovered from the burn pit near Avery's home. They were soon determined to belong to Hellback. Additional evidence included a bullet found in Avery's garage that had Hellback's DNA. Avery was arrested. While in jail, he settled his civil suit for $400K. Now, this is where the conspiracy kind of comes in. And I hate to use the conspiracy, but this is what a lot of people have this thought process. He had to settle his case for $400,000 because if he didn't settle his case, he wouldn't have money to defend himself. Now, another thing people don't realize is that, unfortunately, The people that actually gathered the evidence were the officers being sued. And that is a particular issue. And they had his DNA from the 1985 case that apparently had a puncture mark on it. So, I mean, so let me read a little bit of this. So, let me write.
And here's another aerial view of the property.
Mm-hmm.
It tells you whose house is who. Stephen Avery. Stephen. Okay, this text. House of Chuck Avery. His brother lives here. His parents live here. And all the little blue dots that you see here is accounted of every single car they had on the property. They even had a hunting shack and a little pond.
Yeah.
Go ahead. So you're good.
So basically, what happened was is Avery, they looked into his property about 7 times, almost 6 times, and on the 7th time they found the keys in the bedroom. Apparently, I think they actually have.
It was on the 7th time they randomly found a key. Mind you, the key did not have any of Teresa's DNA on it, just Steven's. But we'll get to that.
Yeah, and apparently their excuse for this was that someone actually knocked the bookcase and the keys, like some sort of not a bookcase, but what are those things by your bed or something? Maybe it was a bookcase, but it's a piece of furniture stand. Thank you, a stand, and the keys fell out on the 7th. And apparently, the person that found it was actually one of the officers being sued.
There is a picture of it. Let me find the picture.
Yeah. So it gets a little weird that all this evidence is being found by officers who are going to be personal liable for a lawsuit because the insurance company is not going to pay the county's insurance company. So people have thought, maybe you shouldn't have had officers watched, like who were not being watched, gather evidence on a crime scene that they possibly would want this guy convicted of. Officers that were questioned in the lawsuit volunteered at search. So they also volunteered, and they found it. So they were volunteers. More major conflict of interest were officers being deposed.
Now, real quick, this image that y'all are seeing right now, after it loads up, this image is apparently the only way I can see this key being knocked off if it was on top of this nightstand. There's a nightstand here, and you see this little blue thing right here that I'm circling.
Yeah.
That right there, that is the fucking key. That is the key near his shoes. Mind you, the before and after of his home, they do show in the documentary, his home was absolutely clean. When Jody came home, because Avery was already put into custody for, the murder of Teresa, Jody was serving a 7 to 8 month prison sentence or jail sentence in local custody because she had a DUI. She was driving under the influence. So when she got home about a month later, when she was released, she's like, the house wasn't like this. This is ridiculous. Like, it was everywhere. So they tore up the house. But mind you, they closed up the whole property several times to go in there. And
the 7th. Apparently, the 7th time, like the 6 other times, they didn't see the key on the floor that's bloody. Mm-hmm. So it's a very odd situation. There's other things that go into it. They said that
there was no blood on the key.
They said it was blood on the key, his blood.
I have seen this key a million times. There's no blood on the key.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just make a search just in case. Steve Avery.
Yeah, they found her DNA on it. No, sorry.
Yeah, that's blood.
No, what was I gonna say? Okay, I didn't know that there was blood, but they did have. This is the thing, y'all. This key belonged to Teresa, right? That's what it is. It's Teresa's hatch key for her Jeep, right? Mm-hmm. It should have Teresa's DNA on it, but when the DNA people swabbed it, they said they found no traces of other people's DNA. That the only DNA on that key was Stephen Avery's. Does that make sense to y'all?
Mm-hmm. I'm just making sure I didn't.
Because in the documentary they didn't say there was blood on it. They said that it was fingerprints and it was only Stephen's, and which made it believe in Stephen's defense attorneys was that the key was found or somebody had the key who planted it there, and they scrubbed it and just put Avery's DNA on it.
One moment, I'm just looking up 1 second.
Yeah. Because you guys got to
Because
remember.
I'm pretty sure there was blood on it. That's the thing. I was pretty sure there
Yeah.
was blood on it, his
Um.
blood.
Hold on. But you got to remember too, when Stephen was convicted wrongfully in the 80s, 85, I want to say, um, they had his blood, they had his DNA, they had everything from him. Especially if you're in a prison, you're going to get blood tested and stuff. So they have that as evidence. But
Yeah, absolutely.
we're gonna get to that in a minute too, because that was even shady as well. But go ahead.
I'm just reading, like, I'm pulling up the Exhibit 14, Plaintiff's Exhibit 14. I don't know why it's called Plaintiffs. It should be the People's, but whoever marked it didn't know what the fuck they were doing.
Well,
It says,
isn't that throughout the whole entire fucking case though?
yeah, it should be the People's, because the people are, it's not a plaintiff's deposition.
Hmm.
Um,
There's the
the
key.
following, the following items were also examined in a DNA unit of this laboratory. One Toyota key attached to a blue key ring, one red hand. So I'm trying to see where item C would be and what would be the test for item C. See, I should probably, but I'm pretty sure it was his blood that was concluded on that.
Yeah. Well, if it was
So,
his, well, the no matter what it is, fingerprint or blood, it doesn't matter. The issue is that DNA traces, especially on a fabric keychain, is going to have DNA of Teresa on it. So
mhm,
the theory is that the keychain was scrubbed and then put Avery's DNA on it. Everything
mhm,
seems to be planted. And you're going to
yeah.
sit back and you're going to go, well, why would they plant this on them? Well, Belial explained it to y'all. This could be a possibility because they had to pay out of pocket in their police station for the lawsuit of the wrongful conviction of him of 18 years.
Yeah, they might have been, someone else might have done it, and they might have been very fast again to get him instead of searching. Because a
Hmm.
lot of times police officers will actually kind of have a suspect in their minds,
Hmm.
and that's pretty much the situation. I'm just trying to look for what the reason why I'm quiet is I'm trying to confirm it, and I don't want to like give false information. So I'm trying to look for actual.
I believe it would be blood because it supports the other notion that they do have Avery's blood.
Yeah. So I believe that I think there was blood on it, but anyway, that's what. If someone proves me wrong, toss it in the chat. But that's what I heard. But anyway,
Let's catch up with chat real quick. Okay, I was trying to figure out why it was familiar. Uh, Not blood on the key, to my knowledge. Yeah, that's what I thought too. I thought it was just fingerprints, but it would make sense for the blood because we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, it's just odd that this person owns a car for about 6 or 7 years, has the
yeah,
same keys, have the same key ring all that time as what her family has confirmed,
yeah,
and there's just no DNA on it of her.
yeah.
I mean, it's a little fucking odd. There would be some DNA, but when they did do the investigation on this key, they found zero DNA of anybody else except Stephen Avery. That's kind of odd,
Mhm.
isn't it?
Yeah. Well, a lot of things are odd in this
Oh
case.
yeah, oh yeah.
But another thing is that well, the next thing was big thing was Brendan. So Brendan Dassey confessed to this particular crime.
Oh god.
Now, if you want to, he had an IQ of like 73, and
Mhm.
he was 16 years old. And the confession is basically in question because it was basically about I saw like a 2 hour video confession, and basically if you have an IQ of 73, you basically the intelligence of a 10-year-old boy. And
Mhm.
what happened was the mother consented to the cops talking to him.
Mhm.
The mother was not present at the time of the interrogation, so he was by himself in a room in a recording. And we could just basically, if you want to play that video we talked about earlier, we
From
can.
now this news.
No, the video in the thing I sent you.
The wrongful conviction of Brandon Dassey of Netflix making a murderer.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's from now this news.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah. Again, now this news credit goes to them. This is their content. We're just reacting to it. So y'all, please go over there and subscribe and like their video. And we're at 00, and
Mhm.
we're pressing play now.
Brendan Dassey was a 16-year-old Wisconsin boy with intellectual disabilities who was interrogated and confessed to a rape and murder that he did not commit.
I still got hope, and it's gotten stronger over the years, and having everybody backing me up, having them stand by my side, and that I got my own army fighting for me.
I'm not done fighting for Brendan Dassey.
There are countless people doing hard time in American prisons for crimes they didn't commit. I've interviewed dozens of them for my podcast, and now we're bringing these powerful human stories to your screens. Together, we can help shed light on some of the current problems plaguing our criminal injustice system. I'm Jason Flom, and this is Wrongful Conviction. Brendan Dassey has been stuck behind bars for over 13 long, miserable years since he was just 16 years old. His story first gained national attention in 2015 when Netflix released the multi-episode documentary Making a Murderer that became a true cultural phenomenon. Brendan and his uncle, Stephen Avery, were both convicted of the 2005 murder of Teresa Halbach, and Brendan is currently serving a life sentence in Wisconsin. He's continued to maintain his innocence, and his lawyers and supporters, myself included, believe with every bone in our bodies that he was coerced into a false confession by police.
Absolutely.
A new clemency petition hopes to convince Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers of Brendan's innocence and get him released and sent home to his family at long last, where he belongs. Today we have the first interview ever given by Brendan Dassey. We're here with Laura Nyrider, attorney for Brendan now for 12 years.
That's right, going on 12 years.
Hopefully not for too much longer. You got involved with Brendan's case at what stage?
Brendan was a 10th grader in the public school special education system. That's who he was. In many ways, it's still who he is. For the first 8 years or so that we represented Brendan Dassey, he was a forgotten person. He was sitting alone in a prison cell. I suppose if anybody remembered him, it was as a murderer. And then Making a Murderer was released on Netflix, streamed by millions of accounts. It was much bigger than we'd ever expected. And suddenly the world was saying Brendan Dassey's name.
Are we ready? Are we recording?
Brendan, are you there? Brendan, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, good.
So, Brendan, I gotta ask you, tens of millions of people now, all over the world, as you know, who have watched Making a Murderer, have learned about your story, have felt like I did, the sense of outrage and the frustration and want to do something. Have you seen the movie?
No, I haven't.
Probably not. It's in jail.
Can you explain? I mean, can you watch it if you wanted to?
No, I don't think I can watch it here.
No, they don't.
I'm
They
gonna
don't
press
get
pause real
Netflix.
quick. Pressing pause real quick so we can take breaks in between.
Yeah, sure.
Isn't it kind of like the thing that happens is that people watch a documentary and they sit back and they think for themselves and they go, that's not right. That's not right. And they did it with the West Memphis 3 too.
Yeah,
Like-
I mean, you sit down there and you have to break down the evidence in the prosecution, and
Yeah.
and the prosecution has. Basically, if you say that the evidence is being handled poorly, like think of the OJ trial.
Yeah.
The only people thought the evidence was planted by the police there. Now this is a lot worse because now you have a clear motive why the police might plant it. Some of these police officers might still think he was responsible for the first crime and that he just got out scot-free. There's a lot of people that would just sit there and be like, yeah, he just got away with raping this woman and he's suing us personally for millions of dollars and I'm going to go bankrupt because of this piece of shit. And now another woman's disappeared. So why don't we just see if we can get this guy? Now, there's people that could think like that. Now, the question would be, where did they find the keys? Why didn't they just plant the keys? Why do they need to put like some sort of DNA evidence? Why was the keys having no other DNA but Avery's and it were clean? Why does the car have blood all over it? There is a video out there showing a clear cut on Avery's finger. We can actually play that if you want. And you get into like a lot of questions. You get into the fact that you get a very false confession type of statement from Brendan, which you're going to see, where you're going to notice that a lot of the information is fed to him. There's a presumption that he's guilty. They even fed the way that the crime was committed at a certain point. And all this kind of plays into if the confession should be thrown out and that the evidence is basically could be planted. Even the car. I heard one point that the car was actually found by a person. They said they basically found it by divine intervention, that they found this car in
Oh
the
yeah,
garage.
I heard the phone call. I heard the phone call. The woman wanted to talk to a particular police officer. I think it was the sheriff. She found the car, and then when there was pictures of the car, I think the photo evidence might have it. Yeah, it does actually. You can clearly see, for some reason, this car was staged. It had the branches on it, it had the
Yeah,
wood on it, but if you look at the other cars that are on the property, like this car here, not staged. But if you look
yeah,
at the other angle of this car, clearly this car, it's loading, it's taking a minute. I
yeah,
feel like I'm on dial-up right now.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
but as you can see, this is clearly, in my eyes, my opinion, this is
yeah.
fucking staged. It's just weird. But there is a phone call in the documentary on Netflix, and the woman was very eager. She wanted to go in the car. She wanted to see the car. She was touching the car, all this other shit, and yeah, she did believe it was like, oh my god, God was leading me here. Shut up,
To
like,
answer Pete Can's question, he says I think documentary can be very inflammatory and one-sided through it. All documentaries are like that. Every
oh yeah,
documentary is basically pushing their own narrative of their own thought process. No documentary is going to really be like going to explain both
yeah,
sides perfectly. They're always going to omit something. You really
yeah,
just that's why I kind of don't watch documentaries too often because
yeah.
you really don't get the full picture of the information. You get their perspective. And the Netflix documentary, it made it very clear that it looked like, well,
It
there's
was,
no
yeah,
it was yeah, it was all he's completely innocent of everything,
yeah,
and the police are all corrupt.
yeah.
That's
But
pretty much.
But remember, it's what you take away from the documentary, because when I watched the documentary last, I'm not talking about recently for this show. I even in last on Friday's show a couple days ago, I thought he was guilty. And I watched the documentary. Now rewatching it with the more information I found, especially the 2022 updates that we do have and we will show, that I don't think he did it anymore. You can
Well,
change. I mean, this documentary is quite different than the West Memphis 3 documentary, which was plain to be, to be against the boys. But there's people out there that went, something's wrong here. And because those
I'm
people went, something's wrong, something did happen.
I'm of the opinion
Yeah.
that he did it himself, but I'm also of the opinion that there is not enough evidence to convict him. If you
Mm.
actually exclude all these things, the confession, the evidence, and all that stuff, would you realistically convict him? And you might say, well, if you think he's a killer, why would you want to set him free? Well, the issue is that you have a wider problem where you have a possibility of planting evidence, you have a possibility of false confessions, and honestly, I don't think that is a healthy system to push for law enforcement. I don't think the police officers being sued for millions of dollars and personally liable. And when I say personally liable, I mean like their pensions would be gone, their houses would be for sale, they would be bankrupt. Should be volunteering to search for evidence. And I think that's the issue I have. I have an issue of, and you're going to see why I think the confession is false when we play a little bit more of this.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
that's my thought
also,
process.
just to give more context to this, you can watch this in the documentary. And I know documentaries can be one-sided, but they're showing proof. In most documentaries that you do watch, they show you both sides. And then
Yeah.
you walk away going, okay, this is how I feel. But during the supposed murder of this happening, just say for this example that
Well, there was a
Avery,
murder.
well, no, I'm just saying for this this whole like master plan that Avery was murdering somebody. He was talking to his girlfriend that was in jail, that was recorded at 2 times of that night where
Oh,
supposedly the murder happened. And it was recorded and the recordings were released. They're in the documentary. And Avery, the first recording, Avery didn't seem out of breath. He didn't seem there was no Brendan in the background. He was just, I love you, da da da. I can't wait for you to get out. And then the second conversation, he was in bed. You can hear the TV in the background, and it is a TV because you can hear a commercial. You can hear like, "Come on down here," like it's just inconsistent. Like he has,
it's inconsistent.
yeah, it's just common sense in my
Yeah.
eyes. But I don't think I'm a little different from Belial. I don't think he murdered her. I do think
Well,
This is
I know.
this is a more realistic conspiracy theory than whatever Ryan Upchurch could come up with. I'm just saying.
Let's not mention that guy. That guy is
I'm
clearly
not-
doing it for the money and clicks.
Yeah.
He's not. He's in clown world. That guy.
Mm.
But let's continue. Let's continue with the video.
Okay. Okay, and we're at 3 minutes and 2 seconds, so we're pressing play now.
Netflix in prison.
Do you want to see the show when you get out? Are you interested?
I
Yeah,
might.
exactly,
I don't
Sleuth
know if I
Mom.
can though.
Yeah.
You mean it might be hard to watch?
Yeah, more or less because I lived it. So why would I want to watch it again?
Now watch his interrogation
You got
when it's
involved
coming up.
with Brendan's case at what stage?
I came back to Northwestern after graduating, and for the last 12 years, I've been building the Center on Wrongful Convictions, where we represent Brendan and other kids just like him. Steve Drizin, my colleague on the case, handed me the interrogation videos, the same videos that years and years later ended up in making a murderer. I watched them all, and my heart broke. And I knew that this is it. This is what I had to do, was, fight for people like Brendan.
What was it about those tapes?
These police going into the interrogation, they know, or they think they know based on
The
their own
Reed technique.
investigation, that she had been shot in the head. So they're waiting for Brendan to describe shooting somebody in the head.
Remember, this is very important because we already know what happened that day, okay? Let's just be honest here, okay, Brendan?
Mm-hmm.
Let's get this out.
And he says, "We choked her." Well, that's not right. So they say to him, "Okay, what else, Brendan? What else did you do to her?"
She was stabbed.
Still not right. So they start dropping him hints.
Something with the head. Brendan,
Yeah.
what else did you guys do? Come on.
What he made you do.
Give him the signal.
And Brendan says, "We punched her?"
That he punched her.
And his voice goes up like that, like he's asking a question.
That he punched her.
And that's still not right. So it's like, come on, Brendan, what else? What else? Something with the
It's actually
head.
getting colder. You know,
Something-
like when you get hot and cold.
Well,
it's
and
getting
talk about
colder.
getting colder. At one point, Brendan's completely at sea. And he says, we cut off her hair? And this goes on and on and on. And finally, Brendan, he must get exhausted. And he just says,
That's all I can remember.
the officers at that point say to him, "Brendan, I'm just going to come out and ask you."
All right, I'm just going to come out and ask you. Who
Stop
shot her
it.
in the head?
And
Paused it.
Now, you see what happened. He's trying to feed, like, whenever he says something wrong, he's like, what else? What else? He's trying to, and then he feeds him the answer, shot in the head. Now, you might say, why would this 16-year-old kid admit to a crime that he didn't convict? That he didn't do? Because he's 16 years old with the IQ of a 10-year-old. And he has no concept of what type of hot water he is. He's believing the officers. He thinks he's going to go home after this at a certain point. Like, that is the problem. He has no parental supervision in this place. And the Reed technique, often, like, if you actually read the Reed technique, the problem with the Reed technique, which is what they used on this kid, was that the critics of it argue that it features interrogation methods that lead certain innocent suspects to confess. For example, critiques argue that guilt presumptive nature that creates a slippery slope for innocent suspects because it may set in motion a sequence of reciprocal observation and reactions between suspects and interrogations that serve to confirm the interrogator's belief of the suspect's guilt. So basically, they presumed that this kid was like a part of this. They presumed all this, and they pushing the answers to him. So if you believe that, and this was a key part of the testimony, that this confession that was brought in, and that was a very big part of like the convictions.
First confession. Thank you, Grandma Shari. Grandma Shari has posted the false confession.
Yeah, and if you're if you're a smart person, if you have a situation where the police officers are part of a civil suit where they will go bankrupt, and they're allowed to go and search and search for evidence, you will question whether that evidence is properly being actually stored and gathered by these people. If you believe the confession is forced, if you believe that the testimony of another individual who people actually believe did something, which is actually another individual we're going to talk about, because there's one more person, Bobby, who basically said that he saw her go into the house and disappear, And we're going to get into that. Maybe just like he's now being accused of possibly having something to do with it, and he might be a new suspect based on other evidence. Then you really break down what evidence does these people have. If the keys are out of the case, if the car is out of the case, like basically find the car is out of the case, and and then also the confession's out of the case, then would you reasonably convict this guy and throw him in jail? Would you even, and let alone Brandon, who basically had no evidence connecting him, just a confession? Just a forced confession has sentenced this kid to being in jail until 2045?
Yeah, I think it was 2043 he could be eligible for parole.
I vanished. I didn't like the cops tapping him on the leg. Yeah, and also you have to realize you have to pay attention. Okay, first off, the officers are extremely close to him. That is a very, very bad tactics for an interrogator. An interrogator wants the person to be comfortable, and they want the person to elaborate and talk. So, when you say, for instance, if I was interrogating Tony, I would be in a room, I would let him sit by the door, and I would sit away from him a little bit, and I would be like, so Tony, tell us, what did you do today? And I would let you talk on and on about your day, and then I would just pinpoint certain things and say, oh, what else did you do? And I would do something like that, and I write my notes, and I would pinpoint.
It makes them want to feel comfortable.
And I want them to have them talk. But you're barely getting audible responses from this kid. He does not understand. And honestly, he should have had counsel. He should have had an attorney present or his mother in the room. Someone should have been there to watch over this kid. So,
real quick, congratulations lighting the way for your community wall. You finally got one? Woo!
Congratulations.
That's amazing.
Yeah, Brandon's eligible in 2048. Thank you.
Yes.
So I
mean, that's bullshit.
Just for a confession. For a false confession where anyone that has a little understanding of how false confessions can work would know that that's pretty much the only evidence they had on him. And he's in jail until 2048. And we'll continue the video.
Oh, he's going to be denied parole too. If nothing happens and nobody tries to do something now during this time, when it comes up for his parole, they're going to deny him because mind you, they're being held in the same system that convicted them.
Yeah. Let's continue.
And the system hates them. Just saying. Okay, we're at 5 minutes and 6 seconds, so we're pressing play now.
Brendan says, well, that was my uncle Stephen. And then, comes one of the most heartbreaking moments of the entire interrogation because they say to him, Brendan, why didn't you just tell us that? And he says,
So I couldn't think of it.
He was guessing.
He's guessing.
The whole time he's guessing. And he had to be told the right answer because he couldn't guess right.
The mothers get brought in.
After Brendan's finished confessing, they allow his mother into the room for the first time, his mom, Barb. She's been outside in the hallway. And they let her into the room, and the cameras are still rolling in the room, right? And they leave the two of them alone. And they're probably hoping that Brendan's going to confess to her. And she says to him, Brendan, did you do this? And he says, not really. And she goes, what do you mean, not really? You can just hear him say, they got to my head.
Did you? Huh?
Not really.
What do you mean, not really?
They got to my head.
A lot of people think that Brendan is the only person to ever confess to a crime he didn't commit. But that's not true. There are hundreds of Brendan Dasseys around the world. And in fact, the interrogation techniques that we all saw being used on Brendan, those are commonly used interrogation techniques. In fact, officers are taught to use those techniques. I can pretty much guarantee that as you're sitting here watching this today, there's someone being questioned in the United States right now, just the same way that Brendan Dassey was questioned. And we know that these techniques are so powerful. They twist the world so much that they can cause not only true
now listen to his we're going to get into his background in jail, what's happening with him in jail, and tell me if this is like a rapist and a murderer.
Today's visiting day, right?
Yeah, I'll be getting a visit from my mom tonight.
And they just moved you to a place which is closer to home, which is great.
Yeah.
Can you talk about what your daily life is like?
Well, I wake up for breakfast at about 6:30, and then I go to day room at 8:15, and I either play on my tablet or play cards in the day room, and then emailing my family, just hanging out with the guys here that I consider friends. At 11:30, I eat lunch. Then there's a count at 12:25, and then there's another day room at 12:45. I'm usually asleep by like maybe 10:30.
One of the great things, by the way, about the fact that Brendan did move 4 months ago is he actually earned an early transfer out of maximum security because of the incredible behavior and just the trust that the institution has been placing in him. Brendan had a number of jobs at his old institution. He was working with inmates who needed help, vulnerable inmates, taking care of other people, helping take care of the institution.
Yeah, and even now you were talking yesterday about helping the elderly, people who can't get around, pushing the wheelchairs and doing that stuff, right?
Yeah, I even had to do that yesterday to push someone up to the library.
Oh, I think it was Laura that asked you if you had a superpower, what would it be?
That's right. That's always one of my favorite questions to ask Brendan.
I would want to have the power to heal illnesses and diseases all over the world.
And where do you think that comes from?
Well, I just like helping people, so I wanted to help other people in the world.
You can stop it now.
Pause. Also,
What-
this video was released October 2nd of 2019.
Yeah, he's still in jail.
I bet you that... Well, yeah, he's still in jail, but what I was going to say is, I bet you his superpower is still the same.
Yeah. So, what did you think of that? Do you think his... And we could go through another video of the show, like a little bit more of the false confession.
No, I know, I agree with Louisiana Girl. I 100% think that Brandon was taken advantage of. The system was out to get him. They weren't aiming at Brandon. By all means, they weren't. They were aiming at Steve. So, they're aiming at his uncle. And sadly, when the bullet hit, it ricocheted and hit Brandon. And Brendan. And now, look at him.
I think sometimes officers believe... because you have to realize this woman's murdered. We all know this woman is dead.
And the real murderer is out there somewhere.
And we don't... And they're thinking immediately that this guy has... Some officers probably thought, hey, this guy got away with one murder, and now... one crime, and now he's committing another one. And sometimes maybe they there's a possibility of some issues happening. At the very least, the confession we know is forced. Searching a home 6 times and not finding anything, and then finally finding something on the 7th time is a little odd. Here's another video, a small 2-minute video of the confession again.
Okay,
we can watch that.
Do you want me to close out of this video?
Yeah, we don't need to, because it's going to go into, the governor might pardon him. We all know that did not happen. No. He's still in jail, so we don't need to watch that.
Sadly. Okay, the video is loading. It's a 2-minute and 19-second video. The video is brought to you by Adrian Moromots.
Yeah, just some guy who probably just clipped it.
So thank you to whoever did do this. Thank you for your content. Definitely go give them a thumbs up. We're at 0-0, and do you want to say anything before I press play?
No, we'll just play it for 2 minutes, and you listen to... They slow down certain parts of the officer, just so you know it's not the actual tape, so just so you know that. Okay. So we'll play it.
I put closed captioning on because Brendan does have he's a 16-year-old kid.
And notice, I do want to say, you notice that he does not say yes.
No.
He says, Yeah. I read the transcript. It's a 48-page transcript, and he's literally like, and it's like, bro, these are not good ways to ask questions. Well, let's listen to it. Let's go.
Louisiana Girl. Yes, exactly. If anybody can you can think whatever you want of Steven, okay? But I really do think Brendan is innocent of this, and he was just pulled in.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into why I think there's a possibility that Avery did the crime, and also a possible another suspect. But my opinion is that I think, this is my opinion, I think Avery probably did it, but I don't think there would have been, if you did all the evidence gathering properly, and everything was done properly, and there wasn't a false confession, and all these things, I don't think he would have went to jail. Mm-hmm. And I also don't think, this young man is a part of it. I think he was just dragged in. I don't think he had anything to do with the murder. So this young man is probably 100% innocent, and he's in a jail. His main crime was basically he wasn't smart enough to realize that he was being taken advantage of by cops.
And also, I'm not trying to put anybody down when I say this, especially the Avery family. The whole entire family's gone through a lot. but they are not legal savvy. They're very humble
Oh,
country folk
Avery
that,
has an IQ of 70. Stephen
yeah,
Avery. So they have very low IQ, and I'm not saying because you have a low IQ, you're like just dumb. It's
they
just
don't know the
that,
laws, is what I'm
yeah,
saying. Like the mother didn't know, and it's just they are very humble country folk, and I'm pretty sure they do now. After all this time, they've educated themselves on it because they remain their family's innocence on this. But you got to
yeah. So
remember that.
yeah. Let's play the video. Let's play
Okay,
it.
pressing play now.
But I gotta believe in you, and if I don't believe in you, I can't go to bat for you. Okay, you're nodding. Tell us what happened.
Your mom said you'd be honest with us.
She's behind you 100% no matter what happens here.
That's what she said. Because she thinks you don't want to.
We're in your corner.
We already know what happened. Now tell us exactly. Don't lie.
The lie's coming. This is a lie that he said.
Okay?
Now, let's be honest. What did he tell you? What did he
What
show
did you see and what did he tell you?
There's
Let's be
two
honest,
men in there
Avery.
questioning him, by the
If
way.
you helped him, it's okay. Because he was telling you to do it. You didn't do it on your own.
They're telling him
Think
answers.
about it and be honest.
So just be honest. We already know.
He's obviously not holding anything back from you. He had you come over to see this.
I don't like that. I agree with
Come on.
whoever said it in chat. Don't touch him.
But that's the
Something
signal.
with the head.
See, he's giving him answers.
What else did you guys do? Come on.
No, Brendan.
You're fine, Louisiana
I
girl.
made you do something
I
else.
agree with you.
What was it?
That he punched her.
What else? It's okay. What did he make you do?
Caught her
Cut her where?
on her throat.
You cut her throat. What else happened
Stop
to
it.
her? In her head.
Stop it.
Uh-huh.
He says he cuts her throat, cuts her hair. This is not what happened. She was shot in the head.
You would
So-
think, too, if this all happened in the bedroom, where's her hair?
Yeah, I mean, like, this is.
You would be able to find it. They searched that place a total of 7 times, but the only time they found evidence was really on the 7th time.
Yeah.
Make it make sense. Either these are very lazy cops, or these are stupid
I
cops.
I think these cops had an opinion of guilt, and they basically had, like, it's kind of like how we discussed earlier, how, like, instead of building a pyramid, like, upwards with the evidence on the bottom and slowly finding the suspect based on the evidence, they built their pyramid upside down, where they already thought of a suspect and they were building their evidence on top of their thought process of who that suspect was. And I think that's what happened. And for things that didn't make sense to them, they just basically grabbed any sort of person. And unfortunately, this young man is collateral damage. Now, I will stand by my earlier statement. I think Avery probably did it. But do I think this young man had anything to do with it? No. And I think Avery's probably keeping quiet because he doesn't want to actually, exonerate this young man, and he's probably just trying to save his ass. But, that's pretty much my thought process.
And
But I could be wrong.
But Pecan Pie, I said the exact same thing when it came to Jesse Misskelley in the West Memphis 3 trial. They should have used Jesse Misskelley's, recording of how not to interrogate. Now, that's almost 20 years later. Well, that was almost, 20 years later. Here's Brendan. It's another 16-year-old kid that got coerced and was pushed to sit with the same IQ, mind you. Jesse Misskelley was 16. He had an IQ of a 10 or 9-year-old. It was very low. In a situation, he was promised things. He was told things. They didn't change it then. They're not going to change it now. They're never going to change. It's going to continue until there's one big accident. It always happens like that when it comes to
It's
anything.
unfortunately, I'm gonna be the pessimist. It's probably gonna have to happen to some. I don't think there's ever gonna be really a change, a fix to it, unless like someone really powerful decides to change it. To be honest with you, I think a lot of the people that give false confessions are either too poor or just don't have the power and authority to change things, and it's just going to continue. Unfortunately, I don't think there's an actual ability for it to change. I don't think there's a will for it to change because there's a lot of people that think because you give a false confession, why would an innocent person give a false confession? And unfortunately, people don't know that yet. They don't know that you can be easily force someone to give a false confession. So let's continue like the last
real
20
quick.
seconds.
Thank you, Grandma Sherry, for sharing it. Yes, that was our live that we did on Friday, explaining the read technique and false confessions and stuff. So if anybody later after the show wants to go watch it, again, thank you, Grandma Sherry. She's on top of it. Very reliable. Thank you. And thank you for being understanding because I've been without service for... There's 0... Oh, gee. Yeah, see, that's another thing, Louise. I mean, if you're not... I don't understand how some people are just like, he did it. And it's just like, do you really think that? You know? But yeah, let's continue on. 1 minute and 46 seconds. And yeah, brace yourself for this confession. Pressing play now.
Extremely, extremely important you tell us this. For us to believe you.
You tell us this for us to believe you. It's horrible. This poor
We
child.
know, we just need you to tell us.
That's all I can remember.
All right, I'm just going to come out and ask you, who shot her in the head?
See?
It's horrible.
He doesn't know how she died, and he's like, who shot her in the head? Well, you just told him the answer, guys. It's just...
Especially when you're dealing with people who have this... Exactly. And these are very humble country folk. That was the right term, right? Country folk, they don't mean no harm. They do their thing. They have a company. They're scraping it by. They're doing better than most. And, you know...
Yeah.
I just don't understand. But I know that Stephen Avery, I hope his mother's still alive. I have not heard any news on it, but his mother has always been fighting for him.
Yeah, that's true. Now we're going to go a little bit towards what if he did it? What is the supporting evidence that he might... Not Brendan, obviously. I'm talking about Avery. So there is... Some people are like, there's all this blood. Where did this blood come from? So here's the, let me just toss it to you.
Okay.
Moment.
Okay. I was looking at the... Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to toss it to you.
Okay.
It's a short video.
And then wants to know if he will make it science class. I feel like with so much being recorded and scrutinized by Ellie, social media, etc. Today's world, do you think it'd be less hard for them to get away with? You would think that. But no. Because people thought that too when it comes to the whole controversy of 2020, and I'm not talking about the COVID, I'm talking about the riots. People thought cops would, do...
Well,
I
mean...
Because they're being recorded. It doesn't stop them because old dogs don't learn new tricks.
I mean, just because something's being recorded doesn't mean people actually watch it. You know what I mean? Like, you have to get national attention for it. I mean, you can have many situations where a person is wronged and it's recorded and it's documented, but if people don't actually watch it and care about it, then it doesn't matter. And usually it's the people that get affected by that are people who are powerless.
Oh, she passed away. Oh, no. That's sad. She passed away in 2021.
Well, really sad. But unfortunately, a lot of times you got to get national attention for it, and that's the situation. I mean, I saw a situation where a woman, I can't remember the case, but it was a woman that was basically had dementia. I think we watched it on the live stream. We talked about it. She had dementia, and she went into a Walmart and she picked up something. The people in the Walmart told her to put it back down. She did. She starts walking on the road. A cop pulls up on her.
Yeah, I remember.
Tries to grab her, grabs her, breaks. I think she broke like her wrist or something, or
she broke her. I thought it was a rib and her wrist.
rib in her wrist, and then basically like tackles her down and then throws her in the car, and it's all recorded by the the camera. And like they basically were laughing about it, the cops. They were laughing. It was funny. It was the funniest thing ever. They even watched it on rewatch. And then instead of taking her to the hospital, they took her to a jail cell with no treatment. And she was left in a jail cell with dementia, with broken rib and a wrist. And no one cared about it. And they even tried to cover it up by changing the file number on the recording on the cam so that it wouldn't be easily pulled up when actual someone came to sue. So, I mean, like, you can be wronged by the police officers, but if no one's paying attention and you don't have the ability to sue or have the money to actually do anything, you're pretty much fucked.
Yeah. I mean, the police do fuck up a lot. Police aren't fucking gods. Okay? They're not. They're human beings. And it just so happens that as human beings, you have good people, you have assholes. We want the assholes not to have a badge. That's the thing.
Do you hear the out-of-context video defense? What do you mean the out-of-context video defense? Yeah, I mean,
political poor George Floyd. Yeah, no, I agree with you.
It's not political with that situation. That officer did something wrong. He should have probably called an ambulance and stuff like that.
It was a death scene around the world. We literally saw a man dying. That's what.
Yeah, it's a sad situation. So let's continue with the Stephen Avery hand injury.
Hey, that girl, and listen from the beginning while food prep. Good deal. Thank you for joining us, that girl. I was beaten up by cops when I was 17. They broke my collar. Yeah,
geez.
Cops really don't know. There's another case where there was a police officer, or many police officers in this precinct, that were bringing in a woman, and the woman was beaten so bad that it's speculated the mugshot that she had. She was dead in the mugshot. They propped her up and they took her mugshot. I gotta find the case, and when I do find the case, I'll post it on the main page. But yeah, there's a lot of things that cops do. I'm not saying all cops are assholes. There are good cops out there.
Well, most are good. I think some are bad apples because of lack of training, and basically they've bad apples get through.
Yeah,
basically,
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying not all. Some bad cops are existent. Unfortunately, it's a lack of training.
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows my stance. I've said this a million times. I'll say it again. If you have 99 good cops, and they're amazing cops, they're caring, they help you, they're just amazing. But if they're covering one bad cop's ass who's racist and horrible, abusive, in my eyes, there's 100 bad cops.
I'm sorry that happened to you, Pecan. That's really fucked up.
Yes, that is
here's the actual full interrogation. It's like a 2-hour long interrogation.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, we can't really sit here for 2 hours and watch each part of the interrogation. So we picked up like particular snippets. There's also a transcript you can get of the interrogation. Here's the you can actually Google the transcript if you ever want to read it.
It's all public. Because of the mainstream media. A lot of it's public.
That's the only camera angle there is. That one camera angle for the whole thing. There's no multiple camera angles, and it's about a 2-hour and 43-minute interrogation. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Right, that girl. See, that girl works. Used to be in the cemetery. She works coffins. So.
Ooh, nice. I mean, not nice, but
just in case I need a new host, like a new co-host, we need to, get rid of the dead weight. We can figure out what type of coffin. Wink, wink, that girl. Just saying.
I heard about that one. That's awful, Pecan. When do you see that? It's horrible. It happens. It just fucking happens. It's horrible.
Yeah.
I was just looking at the sink picture because I don't see blood on the sink. But we're going to get to that. We have the video open right now. The video's actually the channel's from Stephen Avery and Brandon Dassey cases. So this channel probably has a lot of good.
Yeah, I think that was the same thing we got that short video from. Just checking. So yeah, if you want to really get a lot of clips and information on this channel, it's probably good to check out.
You're a licensed mortician, just not currently practicing. Have you? This is going off topic, but there's a video game that's out now on PC. It's the Mortician. You gotta watch the gameplay for it. You gotta watch it. But okay.
I'm glad. I'm glad. Give me a deal just in case I have to get rid of my co-host. Just in case, I might need to get like.
I already have a plot bot. I am set. I am totally set. There's nothing you could do. If I was to die today, I'll be taken care of.
All right, that's good to know.
All
right. So
okay.
This video is yeah. I'm just gonna read. This video is when Stevie Avery was arrested. He had a wound on the third finger on the right hand. That injury was used as evidence in the Stevie Avery trial, which the injury found guilty in the first-degree murder. Stevie Avery was later sentenced to life without parole. The video examines the wound. So this is the wound. So some people might think this is where the blood came from, and also there's a wound on his head they're talking about. So let's watch it. Let's watch it.
Okay, pressing play now.
Dramatic music. Hopefully we won't be copyright struck by the music.
3/4 of an inch. There was nothing about the appearance of the wound that can lead to reasonable speculation regarding the wound's origin.
Yeah.
It looks like it's healing, though. It doesn't look like it was from that.
Yeah.
However, contrary to many are saying online, the wound was on his right hand, not his left. Next picture in a zoom. There it is, yeah.
The next few pictures included to put the wound being on the right hand in perspective. Notice the cowlick on the right side of Stephen Avery's hair.
Yeah, they flipped it.
Okay, so we confirm that.
Mm-hmm.
The final goodbye is the hardest.
Aww.
I believe it was touch DNA they found on the key.
Yeah, it was like a yeah.
Yeah. I wonder how he got that injury.
He works in a garage. How could he not?
Yeah, I mean...
My uncle's worked in garages. They've owned garages. You're gonna cut yourself.
Yeah.
Especially in the thing that's on like near the fingertip. Yeah, that's to me. I'm just like, yeah, it just fucking happens.
Yeah, and also apparently DNA in the form of sweat of Avery was found on the hood latch of Teresa's car. So that's another thing. They said that sweat DNA was found on the car, the hood latch, and that was left out of the Netflix documentary.
Well, Stephen Avery has a new lawyer. Has a female lawyer who was just tweeting earlier this year, but they do have new evidence and such on the case.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's why I think it's a possibility. The problem is that I don't know why they allowed officers that were being sued to help volunteer to gather evidence. That just makes no goddamn sense to me. Like, why would you just not be like, bro, you're being sued for $36 million, $36 million. You might want to sit this one out and let us make sure that this case doesn't get a mistrial. So apparently some people actually believe
Louisiana girl. Yeah, see,
What?
I didn't know sweat was a thing for DNA. I didn't know.
Now you know for your future crimes.
But how could they find it now?
Well, you know what? Now we know there's sweat DNA. It's not a lie by the police. You know, just in case someone, like a police officer, interrogates you and say, we have your sweat DNA, now you know it's true. You say, well, we were educated by Zero to Manic. Anyway, so basically I was actually reading Making a Murderer, Nancy Grace. So she actually is against him. Like, she believes he's guilty.
Of course she is.
Do you want to read the article? I can read the article for you, just so we get her opinion.
Where... I do not have the article.
I can read it for you. That's not here. I can toss it to you.
Yeah, so, yeah, toss it to me so I can at least put it. Of course, Nancy
No problem.
Grace says.
Here you go, Nancy Grace. So let's read. Making a murder, Nancy Grace details why Stephen Avery is guilty. Okay, so let's listen. Let's read it. It's a little lengthy. You know.
They actually have a recording of it.
Yeah, we're not we're listening to a recording. No offense, I can't stand her voice, to be completely honest with you. It's just like nails on a chalkboard at times. Count agent and host Nancy Grace among those who think Stephen Avery, the subject of the Netflix smash hit docu-series Making a Murder, is guilty of murder 25-year-old Teresa Halbach, whose charred remains were found in his Wisconsin auto salvage property in 2005. Yes, it was found in a burn pit, basically. Avery, who had previously served 18 years for rape, we can just skip that stuff. Grace was covering the case since the murder investigation, having interviewed Avery on the show while the search for Halbach was still underway. As it reveals, this interview, it was that conversation that tipped her off to Avery's guilt. Grace recently devoted an hour to the topic, sharing startling sit-down with Judy Stewart-Witzke, which is like the ex-girlfriend, by the way, we covered, who portrayed in the series as Avery's devoted fiancée, but we're just going to call her Judy because I can't say her name.
Yeah.
Judy now says that she was coerced by Avery into maintaining his innocence on camera and that he is in fact a monster who she is certain is guilty. Also mentioned in the broadcast were promotions of detailed Dassey confession, which is Brendan, that did not make it into the series, a full transcript of which Grace shared in the Hollywood. You appear to be making murderer. You covered the case earlier on one of those things. The latched on were letters of Avery had sent to the mother of his children while wrongfully imprisoned for rape. The letters in which writes things like, I hate you, you got your divorce now, you will pay for it, and if you don't brag my kids, I will, I guess it's bring my kids, but it's misspelled, I promise, haha, what about those letters suggested to you that Avery was capable of a crime?
Yeah, they showed that in the documentary.
Yeah, he's mad that his wife divorced him. If you ever sat through a divorce deposition, this is probably a normal conversation in a divorce. No offense, guys. It's pretty fucking brutal, a divorce case. So, I mean, a guy who really is pissed off about his kids not being brought in and cursing her out is kind of normal, unfortunately. So,
have a good one, that girl, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for joining that girl. I'm going to talk about another letter. First, I saw the letter. It was produced by his fiancée, Judy Stewart-Witzke, or Judy, and he is threatening her from behind bars. He's telling her if she does not give him money, that he will frame her for drunk driving. On the other occasion, she said, and I found her to be believable, having worked with so many dramatic domestic violence victims, that if she did not make him look good to Netflix documentaries, well, it was basically do it or else. I've met women who would practically do anything rather than take another beating. It really struck me that she chose to eat rat poison so that she can get away. So, yeah, we know about that, and him threatening for her, that doesn't really make him a rapist and a murderer. So, I hate to defend the possible murderer, but how did you get the interview? No, we don't need that. Before information was made, confident of the guilt. I hope you're sitting down because before you had this information, what made you so confident of his guilt? I hope you're sitting down because this might take a while. Let me start with the most compelling evidence, which is the DNA evidence mixed with the logistics and timelines and common sense. Starting at the beginning, Stevie Avery was wrongfully convicted of rape. Why was he in the photo lineup to start with? Just before the victim was raped, Stephen Avery had either rammed into a woman's or run her off the road. We talked about that earlier. In his car and then pulled a gun on her. She happened to be married to and related to the sheriff's deputy. Another relative, a young female relative, had claimed that Avery molested her. The police knew this, and when the rape victim gave her a description, and it sounded like Avery, who was in their minds because of the other incidents, they put him in the photo array, which is totally constitutional. Yeah, but they didn't, I disagree with her statement there. She picked him out. It was not a plant by the police. I disagree with her. It was a plant by the police.
It was a plant, yeah.
He was in the lineup with 4 or 5 other guys. This was the late '80s when you had to go on blood evidence, witness ID, and cooperation. He was wrongfully convicted. So yes, he was wrongfully convicted of that crime. He did not rape that woman. Now we fast forward to this. He's out 2 years. The DNA evidence is as such. His blood is found in 6 locations of her vehicle. Her DNA is on the bullet fragment in his garage. That bullet is without doubt fired from his weapon, which is hanging from the wall in his bedroom. The ballistics are like fingerprints. Only one makes up particular markings on the bullet as it hurtles down the barrel. It was from his gun, and he had her DNA on it. It would be a very difficult thing for the police to put the DNA on the bullet fragment that can only be identified under the microscope in his garage. Also very, very compelling is sweat DNA, which we discussed earlier, found under the hood of his car. That was mentioned in the series. Why is it that compelling to me? Have you ever heard of a warrant of someone's sweat? No, because it doesn't exist. You cannot extricate sweat from a human pursuant to a warrant. Blooded, yes. I've done millions of times to get DNA in hair, yes. Pubic hair, yes. Photographs of naked body, yes. Fingerprints, yes. Walking sample, yes. Writing samples, yes. Speech, yes. Sweat, no. So she's basically claiming she's gotten all these things. Is anyone saying anything in the chat before I continue?
Real quick, from Avery's defense attorney, Dean Strang, said that there's no such thing as sweat DNA, that you can never determine whether or not sweat is a source of someone's DNA.
Yeah.
What was fucking Nancy Grace before she was a...
Well, she was into... I think she was like a big deal with the... I mean, I think I read one of her books. It was a while ago. This was a while ago when I thought she was smart. I think it was because of the OJ trial she got really famous with. I think she had another career. She's been around for quite a while.
But was she ever an investigator? Was she ever enforcement? Like
I think she was an attorney. Let me see. Well,
an attorney is not an investigator. Let's be real for a second.
Well, yeah, you kind of have to be. Let me see.
I mean, I know you do, but the thing is, though, it's like...
Yeah, she was a prosecutor. Yeah. I knew she was an attorney. All right, so she believes all that stuff we've been talking about. Someone's making bread, and they're not sharing with the chat, unfortunately.
Ooh, bread.
Time them out of the chat. They're not sharing.
Homemade bread is amazing.
So, now you might wonder, okay, there's a possibility that the guy did it. There's a possibility there's a body there. There's obviously someone, she's dead. If Avery didn't do it, which I think he did it, but what say you'd say Avery didn't do it?
Oh, her husband was murdered. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I mean, she's a piece of shit person. I think she's a piece of shit person.
Oh my god!
Nobody deserves... Well, that's the thing. You can still be a piece of shit person and still feel sorry that they went through that.
You guys call me manic, bro. Chill.
But it's true. Like, there can be piece of shit people, and you can still sit back and be like, you're an asshole, but I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry you went through this. Do you get what I'm saying?
I disavow. Do not clip me.
No, you don't get a free pass because somebody was murdered in your family. You could still be a fucking dick.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
But she's, I feel bad for her loss, but she kind of is very severe, but I do not endorse them. That's this fuck. Wrongful prediction. So, what is the possibility? Let's get back to subject so we don't get totally canceled.
We are on limited time, so let's get back.
So who is the person that is possibly involved? Who is the person that is the actual suspect that might have done it? Who do you think, Tony?
Who do I think who did it?
No, I'm saying, who is the guy who's a key witness that pointed that, she went into Avery's house? Who is the guy who basically... Bobby. Now...
Bobby is Brendan Dassey's half-brother, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So it's his half-brother. I do have a video. Do you want me to get the video?
Get the video. You can play the video and just toss it in the chat. So,
Is Bobby
This
Dassey
guy-
the real murderer, or where is Bobby? Okay, Bobby Dassey is the real. Is he the real murderer? It's a question, mind you. Mind you, everything we talk about is our opinions. We're not saying for facts. We do ask
Hey there,
you.
guys. What's going on?
Hold on, let me pause this. We do ask you.
Hey there,
Please
guys.
do not
What's going on,
harass
and
or
welcome-
bully any of the people that you talk to, because I do know a lot of people are getting a lot of shit, especially the prosecutors. We do not condone that. You know, just, you can give your opinions in this chat, but don't be disrespectful to other people. Do not threaten them. Don't be an asshole.
Yeah, I heard the prosecutor was getting threatened. It was fucked up.
I mean,
You gotta stop it first, but what's the video you want to play?
Making a Murder Update 2022, then, and it's from Then and Now, and this is, how is it, wait, I clicked the wrong video, hold on. Making a Murder Update, is Bobby Dassey the real, yes, okay, so this is an update, yes, this is the right video. This was released March 19th, 2022, so only a couple months ago, okay?
Is it Where Bobby Dassey, or is it Making a Murder Update 2022? Which one is it?
It's Making a Murder Update 2022, I just reposted it, and let me post it into the channel.
So, what's really weird is that this guy was a key witness to the conviction. He basically said, hey, you know, he walked into the room, walked into the place where Avery was, and she never came out. And he pointed to them, and he was a key witness. Now, let's play it, and we'll stop it.
All credit goes to Now and Then. Please, y'all, go subscribe, like the video, click. This is their content, so show the love. And we're at 0-0, and we're pressing play now.
Hey there, guys. What's going on, and welcome back to our channel. Stephen Avery's case became well known after Netflix's documentary series Making a Murderer focused on the events leading up to his 2005 conviction for the murder of a photojournalist. Stephen, 59, is serving a life sentence for the murder of Teresa Hellbach, 25, a charge he rejects. He has always maintained his innocence and is appealing for a new trial with Zellner's support. However, Stevens appealed for a review of this conviction in the hopes of having it reversed was denied by the Wisconsin Supreme Court in November 2021. These are the events that pile up as Making a Murderer Update 2022. Number 5, to reel back. The most recent appeal asked the court to look at 3 points in the case: failure to disclose information, destruction of bone fragments, and ineffective legal representation. Brendan Dassey, Stephen's nephew, was also found guilty of the murder. Kathleen took to Twitter on Friday to provide an update outlining her plans for Stephen, which include filing a habeas petition, which is used to bring a prisoner or detainee before a court to determine whether their detention is legal, and a new petition with the Circuit Court on Evidence Appellate Court or the Court of Appeals. An appellate court, unlike the Circuit District Court, doesn't retry cases, hear witness testimonies, consider fresh evidence, or have a jury. Instead, it examines the original case's procedures and outcomes to ensure that the legal proceedings were fair and that the law was applied accurately. Stephen is just beginning, Kathleen said. What lies ahead? A habeas petition with Fed. The court, a new petition with Circuit Court on Evidence Appellate Court, left undecided, a new reward offered by our amazing benefactor. We've just finished warming up the first inning. Many people believe they were wrongfully sentenced after watching the Netflix show, which raised
I'm sure Tony
questions about
agrees.
the legitimacy of their convictions.
Sure.
After suing the police for wrongful conviction in 2003, Stephen believes they framed him for Teresa's death. Avery's request for a fresh trial was denied in 2019. Kathleen wrote a letter in April accusing the state of Wisconsin of withholding vital information after additional witnesses came forward. This occurred after a fresh court filing in April, which indicated that in the early hours of November 5, 2005, a delivery driver witnessed Bobby Dassey with an unidentified bearded man in his 50s to 60s pushing a Toyota RAV4, the model Teresa was driving, onto the Avery property. Number 4, a huge amount of new evidence could see him free.
Stop it.
Paused.
So basically, what happened was the delivery person actually came by. Let me read my notes. It was the delivery person was Thomas Sowinski. I think it's with a Z, Sowinski.
Yeah.
And it said he was delivering papers to Salvage Yard during the early morning hours of November 5th, 2005, when he saw a shirtless Bobby Dassey and an unidentified older man in his 40s to 50s pushing a dark blue RAV4 onto Avery property. The older man was in his 50s and 60s, my apologies, 50s to 60s, while Avery was in his 40s. The identified man had a large frame and long beard. Zawinski claims Bobby tried to block him, but he drove into a ditch to get around him. He then called a Manitowoc Sheriff's Department to report his encounter with Bobby, but was told by an officer, "We already knew who did it."
Yeah. Imagine being told that. Imagine if you have evidence and you knew of this, you sat on it for a little bit, and you call and you're like, okay, I need to say something. You call, you give your evidence, and you tell them your statement, and they say, hey, we don't need it.
Yeah.
We
So
already got the person. Like, that makes no sense.
Yeah, and if you go back to Tony's thing, he's like, wow, this RAV4 seems to be placed here. It seems to be like bushes and stuff, thrown on top of it. The stuff on top of it.
Yeah, it's staged.
So if you're working off that theory, Bobby is in the scene.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby was seen with another gentleman pushing it, and you might wonder, who is this 50 to 60-year-old man pushing it? Mm-hmm. Is there more people involved, or is it another person that is involved? Also, another weird thing is that this was not revealed at the time of trial, and this is why they're asking for an appeal, which was basically called the Bradley violation, which is a term that comes from a 1963 U.S. Supreme Court case, Bradley versus Maryland, in which the Supreme Court ruled that the suppression by the prosecution of evidence favorable to the defendant who has requested it violates due process. So now you're seeing that this potential theory, and why is it so important, this potential theory? Because Bobby is the key witness to the case. Mm-hmm. Bobby points the finger at Avery, saying, you were the last seen with this woman. Mm-hmm. That is a huge red flag.
Mind you, there's another red flag. I don't know if this video shares it, but, going through videos and stuff from the news media and actual accounts, Bobby also was known, especially back in 2005, that he would download porn. Now, Bobby on his computer, him and his brother shared, okay? And his brother didn't know about the pornography that much. He just knew, oh, my brother has porn. In the porn, though, it was violent acts against women. Obviously staged acts. It wasn't like a snuff film or anything. It was, staged fantasy type scenarios. And you can see how far that goes. And there was questioning. The mother knew of this. And when the computer was brought in, before it was brought in, the mother asked Bobby, did you delete it all? You have to delete all that. And if you do delete all that, could they find it? And Bobby goes, I cleaned out the computer, but if somebody's smart enough, they probably could restore the files. So there's something going on there. Bobby had a history of, liking this kind of stuff, and it's really just, the whole situation's really weird. It's either this. There's innocent people in prison right now. Okay? Or this is a whole Avery dumpster fuck. It can be either or. Could have been the whole entire Avery family, the men, doing something. But also, it goes bigger. Teresa was living with a man. It was her friend, not relations or anything, and there were speculations with them because there were fights. So who knows what really happened? That's the issue right now. Nobody knows what fucking happens.
I'm more of the opinion that either there's more people in the conspiracy, and that these two, that basically maybe like Bobby and Avery did it together, and they just basically Brendan just was the fall guy. He just basically, they just didn't give a shit about him.
Yeah.
Or someone with Bobby did the crime, and these two men are innocent. Now you might wonder I don't know who the 50-year-old and 60-year-old is. We don't know. Mm-hmm. And that's but the point of this whole thing is not if he's guilty. If he's guilty, if you feel like he's guilty, that's your opinion. We all have opinions. We never know unless we are there and seeing it. But you have to ask yourself, if you were a juror on this case, mm-hmm. and you were told that the key witness of pointing the location of the last person seen was actually disposing of the car with another gentleman and was attempting to stop a witness from escaping, and you were told that the confession of Brendan is false, and you were told that the police officers who found the evidence were being sued for a case and would lose everything if they lost that case. Then, if you take all this stuff away, you take away the evidence, because fruit from the poisonous tree, basically. You take the confession away. You take the key witness, Bobby, and you call him into question because you bring in the statement. What do you have besides, yes, this woman died, she is dead, her body's there, she's burned. Who is the person you would probably point to? And you can't say, well, because he went to jail previously. He went to jail falsely for 18 years. So, there's enough there to basically acquit at least Brandon, and definitely Avery. And that's my whole thought process on it. I think he has something to do with the killing, but I don't think Brandon has anything to do with the killing, but I don't think there's enough evidence. So I might think something, but it doesn't mean that's enough to sentence a guy to life in jail. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's my thought process.
Yeah. I think there should be better laws in place when it comes to interrogating a minor. I just think that there should be just a lot more laws. Like, I don't think a minor should be interrogated at all, not unless a lawyer or, the parent or / guardian is in the room with them. That all interrogations should be recorded. Believe it or not, sometimes interrogations aren't recorded. Now, when I say recorded, I don't mean just video. I mean audio. Sometimes they're not even recorded at all. That's the weird part. Don't you think that's weird? But I do think there should be stricter laws when it comes to minors being interrogated. So if you want to change anything, that would probably be it.
I mean, and that's the problem. This kid, I think he was, what the sad thing is I think this guy, he's an older man now, but I think he stood no chance, Brandon. He stood no chance. His mother did not understand the legal system. She didn't understand that, she should get a lawyer. She didn't understand that, whatever these cops were saying to her were lies. Police officers have the right to lie to you. Yes. They can lie to you.
Yes, Louisiana girl. I 100% think that as well. They're minors. They don't even know if their Miranda rights are read.
And all that happened was they went up to the mother and said, hey, can you give us consent to, talk to your son? She said yes, and she stood in the hallway while he's being interrogated for over 3 hours by 2 officers.
Mind you, she didn't know she had the right to be in that room.
Hello, Beneficent.
Hello, Beneficent.
Yeah, it's just a very situation. It's like I do believe that Avery did it, but I just don't like the fact that all this stuff just points to me with corruption.
Well, see, I think of it. Okay, you think that, but do you think it could have been Bobby and some other older gentleman?
It's a possibility.
And then Bobby was like, my uncle's a fuck up anyways. They're definitely going to believe he did this. We can cover it up here.
It's a possibility.
I mean,
it's a possibility. But the truth of the matter is that unfortunately, there's no chance we're ever going to find this out.
Oh no. I sadly think that Brendan has a bigger chance of getting justice out of this than Steven. And this is the shitty part. Nobody knows. And this is the thing, too. If you believe that they're both innocent, then that means the bigger issue is there's a murderer out there.
I'm just reading a comment. Barb said she requested to be in there with Brandon and was told she couldn't. See, that's the thing.
Oh, see, that's bullshit.
Yeah, but they lied to her.
They lied to her.
Yeah, they basically lied to her. What you should see, this is the problem. I think parents need to understand. The moment the cops say, "Can we talk to your son?" and they want to talk to him by himself, or even talk to him when you're present, get a lawyer. Just simple as that. I would get even a public defender is better than no lawyer at all. Like even a public defender who you gotta have to, who's basically doesn't even want to be there and has like 3,000 files. He's better than nothing at all, and that's absolutely true. Would you mind dropping the link to the force? Yeah, sure. One moment.
Okay, you got it. Okay. Yeah. In the end, this is a horrible case, we're never going to know the truth. We can walk away with like several different opinions on what ifs, but it's just funny that the most damaged evidence against Brandon and and Steve was the testimony of Bobby.
Yeah, all if we took all this evidence and put it into question, I don't think they would have been convicted. I think if I was on a jury, I'm 100% sure if I was on the jury, I would probably never convict him on these things.
Do they not believe the witnesses about Bobby? Well, see, Bobby is a new factor that just came in within the last year from, the last, since last year. I'm pretty sure we're going to know more about that. I know YouTube is keeping up with every update that they have on Bobby and, what the new evidence. They're finding new evidence. They're finding inconsistencies of a lot of things.
And to answer Louisiana Girl's thing, that question is that once you say, like, the first question you should say is, am I being detained? And if they say no, then you walk out the room. And if they say, and then you say, am I being detained? And they say yes. And you say, what am I being charged with? And they say their crime that you're being charged with. Then you say, I want a lawyer.
Yeah.
And then
it stops right there. They can't.
Let me show you the I gotta find it there. Fastest.
Y'all need to know your rights. I'm telling y'all right now. You need to know your rights. And they cannot ask you anything until you have your lawyer. Even if you don't have a fucking lawyer, say you want your lawyer.
Yeah, I'm going to show you the fastest police interrogation. And this is what, we're jumping off subject a little bit.
Grandma. Yeah, Grandma Sherry also shared a forced confession.
Yeah, anyway.
Public defender.
Yeah, no, but I tossed it to Tony, if you got it.
Yeah.
It's called The Shortest Interrogation. So we'll jump a little bit ahead, but I'm going to jump to...
This is a different case.
Yeah, this is completely different, but this is what you should do if you're a young man being brought in by the cops. Here, go to 1 minute and just play 1 minute and 14 seconds and play. This is what you should do. When you're ready, press play.
We're starting at 1 minute and 14 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and we're pressing play now.
I understand you said you'd be willing to talk to me about why you're in handcuffs? Yes, sir. Okay. Being it is a criminal investigation, obviously you're not free to go because you have warrants for your arrest. I'm going to read your Miranda because it's very important you understand your rights. Okay? You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to talk to a lawyer and have them present with you while you're being questioned. If you cannot afford to hire a lawyer, one will be appointed to represent you before the question if you wish. You can decide at any time to exercise these rights and not answer any questions or make any statements. Do you understand each of these rights I've explained to you? Yes, sir. Have you previously asked any other law enforcement officer to allow you to speak to an attorney about this incident? Have these rights in mind, do you wish to talk to me now? Yes, sir. I'm sorry? Have these rights in mind, do you wish to talk to me now? Yes, sir. You don't want to talk to me? I just call Mom. Okay, you can call your mom at the jail. All right.
Stop it there. That's what you should do. Don't talk to the cops. Just simple as that. Get a lawyer.
You have a right to say no. You do. You have a right to it will piss them off, and they'll probably say some stupid shit.
Who cares if the cops are happy? Like, they're gonna be happy to confess, I mean, like that's how you got to do it, and that's unfortunately what happened, and that's why I feel bad for Brandon, because he had no chance. His mother didn't know about her rights. The kid didn't know he had the IQ of a 10-year-old, and he was basically being told the answers, and he didn't understand the ramifications of what he was saying and what it would happen to him. And now he's going to be in jail. He might die in jail because of this. So at the very least, I think Brendan's innocent. I don't think he did it. Avery, I'm about 70-80% sure he did it. There's a possibility Bobby did it in my mind, but do I think I would convict Avery based upon the evidence of what I'm looking at now? Absolutely not. I would not convict him, because I would say to myself, there's possibility that your key star witness shot this lady in the head because he's got, fetish porn in his computer, and he's like,
And they were very adamant on wiping the computer.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
That's my thought process. Anyone? I mean, I think that's pretty much.
I mean, we touched a little bit on the subject. We didn't get every nook and cranny of it. We're not doing like a 10-hour stream. There's a lot to digest when it comes to this. I recommend watching the documentary and also educating yourself, looking up Google. Everything is public records. Go on YouTube and, walk away with your own conclusion. There's a lot more to the story now since the documentary was released in 2018. So, yeah.
But did you hear about the funniest thing, though? If we're just jumping a little bit on the subject, the prosecutor was actually convicted of sexual misconduct accusations.
Oh, I believe it.
It says Wisconsin. This is the prosecutor, by the way. The Wisconsin prosecutor was convicted in Stephen Avery, the subject of the blockbuster documentary Making a Murderer, bragging about his role in the controversial case to impress women he wanted to date, and was accused multiple times of abusing his official position to coerce women into sexual conversations, acts according to documents obtained by Newsweek. New disturbing details about his accusations against prosecutor Ken Kurtz emerged from a 143-page case file kept by Wisconsin Department of Justice during his 2010 investigation of Kurtz, who initially received the glowing praise of his handler of the 2007 trial that convicted Avery of killing a young photographer, Teresa Telbach. Kathleen Zellner, the defense attorney working in the Free Avery, tells Newsweek the allegations cast doubt on the convictions and are especially troubling given Kurtz's behavior in the lead up to the trial. Zellner draws a connection between the prosecutor's alleged sexual misconduct and the graphic press conference he gave before the trial. As the press conference began, Kurtz asked young viewers to stop watching and then described how sweaty Avery had shackled, held back naked and screaming to his bed, and invited his teenage nephew, Brandon Dassey, to rape and kill her. The sexual assault kidnapping charges against Avery were dropped before the trial on the Friday, and federal judge overturned Dassey's conviction. But that's old. It didn't overturn it. But basically, like, he poisoned the well. He basically said, that they raped her, but that wasn't the charge. Newsweek letter sign up that dismissed the sexual assault charges against Avery, and there was absolutely no proof of it. Zellner tells Newsweek, when you see a fabrication of reality such as what was done in the press conference, you wonder where those ideas come from and what motivated someone to make such a graphic scenario. Zellner adds that the description Kratz gave at the press conference seems to be the product of someone's dark, disturbed fantasy. Other outlets have reviewed the allegations of Kratz's sexual misconduct, mostly notably the Associated Press, in the story that forced 2010 resignation. The AP reported that Kratz sent sexual texts to domestic violence victims and followed up with stories about additional allegations against prosecutors. Now documents obtained by Newsweek shed new light on the accusation, including the allegation that he left $75 for a woman after he threats scared her into performing oral sex on him, and they also detailed many boasts to women about his role in the Avery case, along with steps authorities took to make sure he couldn't destroy evidence once he learned he was being investigated. The DOJ eventually decided not to bring criminal charges against him. Well, I'm glad he didn't have to face criminal charges for doing all this. Kratz responded to his 27-year-old woman in Craigslist ad in 2010, texting to her, "I will treat you nice," quote, end quote. According to the interview, DOJ investigation conducted with the woman, he texted, "Do you know who I am? I'm Kenneth Crooks, the guy who prosecuted Stephen Avery," states an investigation report.
Real quick, read what Grandma Sherry said.
Let's see about that. It's good to know. A body was found in the search of Eliza Fletcher. Oh my God.
I don't know much about that case.
Yeah.
But prayers to the family.
Yeah. Jeez. Shit. Yeah, suspect charged in abduction of missing Memphis teacher served time for prior kidnapping charged in court records. Yeah, that's fucked. Yeah, I guess that's fucked. Well,
we need to do one show that's upbeat.
Yeah, jeez Louise.
Hopefully,
So,
this Friday will probably be upbeat because I love making fun of Ethan.
yeah. Yeah, we're probably gonna end it now. But yeah, so basically all this evidence, I'm gonna probably look more into Eliza Cross Fletcher afterwards. I've watched a couple of other streams about her. It's a very sad case, so I'll probably do it later. But yeah, pretty much all this stuff points to a mistrial. But unfortunately, our justice system is broken, and this poor boy is in jail. I call him a boy because he has the IQ of a 10-year-old, and Avery might have not even done it. He might have been innocent. Or at the very least, he might have done it, but the officers didn't have the evidence and they planted it or did all these things. It's either way, it's a pretty fucked situation. But, do you have any last thing before I talk about the next show that we're probably going to do about?
No, go ahead.
So I was thinking about doing a stream either on BitBoy, who basically likes to throw lawsuits at people because people showed how he kind of did a pump and dump scheme in Bitcoin. Or I'm going to talk about Ethan Klein, who likes to lie about people and defame them and call them fucked up things on his show. I'm debating on which one to do. The reason why, the reason why I heard of it, because he actually started talking about Andrew Tate, and he called Andrew Tate a sex trafficker multiple times on his streams.
As much as I don't like Andrew Tate, you can't just start saying random shit like that.
He also said, when Andrew Tate said that he built an orphanage, for help rebuild an orphanage, he said that apparently that he built that, he's using that orphanage to groom these kids. So he's making incredible, horrible defamation claims, and he has a history of doing that with multiple people he's done it with. So I was thinking about just talking about how he has a history of defaming people and being a real asshole and lying about people. So, because I don't like people that just defame and lie about people. Even though I don't like Andrew Tate.
Yeah. Nobody likes Andrew Tate.
I don't like Andrew Tate. I think he's a piece of shit. But, I mean, don't lie about the guy.
Oh, no, Grandma Sherry, don't be sorry. No, it's glad that we know so we know what's going on. Everybody needs to know what's going on.
Oh, it's very sad. I just get a little sad when I hear about. No, it's not a buzzkill. It's just I kind of.
It's kind of like us taking a mental, a little silence kind of thing. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's a very sad situation. It's all these cases are very sad. You hope that someone actually gets found and you hear about them.
Oh, is Queen going live about the missing?
She's going live in 5 minutes. Yeah, she's going live. And I'll probably watch it.
So y'all go tune into Queen Bee.
Yeah, everyone knows who Queen Bee is. She's cool. I wanted to compliment you on the sound. You guys are very clear. Thank you very much, Bee.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So yeah, I'm thinking about doing something either on BitBoy and his bullshit lawsuits and his pump and dumps. And hopefully we won't get sued because I'm going to make sure we don't get sued. I'm going to make sure my language is very clear on that one. Or I'm going to talk about H3H3. I'm debating because I hate how he is just defaming people, and it really screws up. I don't like when people lie and defame people, and especially when you have a giant platform like he does. It's very fucked up because if people actually believed he was a sex trafficker, they might come after him. So I don't like that shit. But anyway, let's end it here.
Yep.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you, everybody, for watching, and for you people rewatching. We really do appreciate that. We will be back on Friday. Our new times now is 6:30 to 8:30, or we usually sometimes go past that. But yes, we'll be starting at 6:30 from now on. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Please, y'all, go do your own research, form your own opinions, and if you have any opinions or anything we missed, please write it in the comments. If there's a show you want us to talk about, or a documentary, or a case or anything, just shoot us a comment, and we'll definitely look it up.
Yeah, if you want to comment on this video, on the bottom, and just say, hey, can you talk about this case? We'll probably do it. Even if 2 people comment on it, we'll probably do it. Honestly.
We're open for opinions. Doesn't matter how dark it is, we'll check it out.
Yeah, I just usually need 2 days to do research on it so I can write my notes and actually know what the hell I'm talking about a little bit. So, Anyway, you guys have a good one.
You guys have a good one, and have a good start of the week. Y'all keep safe.
Bye.